Basically, what happened? Yeah. All right. So, hi everyone. I guess I'm audible to everyone here.
Yes, yes.
Okay. A very warm welcome everyone here in this meeting. Today, the session we are going to have here, it's basically an introductory session. And in this introductory session, we discuss about the basic of security, of cyber security. Okay. What happens in the basics of cyber security is we know that this course it's about Cyberark. Cyberark, it's a security tool that is implemented across organizations. Okay. But what security it provides, okay, what exact thing are you going to onboard there? What exact thing are you going to secure there? That's something we are going to do in today's session. Okay. Also, from you guys, I want to know that right now, in what sector you're working, like, do you know anything about CyberArk or is it a new thing for you?
It's a new thing for me. Working in cyber, but I have little bit of knowledge about it. That's it.
Okay, and what about you, Tony?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi. I know
Hi,
that
Tony.
CyberArk in components in PVWA, Vault, and CPM and PSM. It is the Vault is the storage of data, and the CPM is the password verification and the password reconciliation and password changes. And PSM is a session recording. And yeah, I know that little bit of knowledge in CyberArk.
Okay, so you know the basic architecture of CyberArk,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. It is a accounts onboarding for Windows, Linux, and database accounts. It is the
All right.
security tool. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what happens as I said that because this is the introductory session, so we'll be starting from the very basic of it so that
Yeah.
everything it gets clear to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sharing my screen here. Let me know if you can see that.
Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, what happens is that the first question that comes to your mind that okay, if CyberArk is a tool, if organizations are implementing CyberArk for the security, then what exactly they are doing with that? What exactly they are securing there? Okay, so the things that are securing there, it's a privileged account. Whatever accounts in your architecture are the privileged accounts. Those accounts will be secured within CyberArk. Now, what is a privileged account? This is the question that comes in the mind. Privileged accounts will be the accounts that are having higher permission. Okay, using that account, you can log into CyberArk. Sorry, you can log into a system and you can perform changes on that system. You can add a new user, you can define policies, you can delete something, you can create something new. Okay, that's something we call as a privileged account. Okay, we basically have two types of accounts, privileged and non privileged, read accounts and write accounts. Privileged accounts, using that, things can be modified. Normal accounts or non privileged accounts, these will be the accounts using which you cannot do anything. You can just log in and you can just go through the contents of that system. That's something you can do. Okay. Now, for example, let's say we are having this meeting over Zoom. Okay, so on the Zoom we have our account, right? With that account, what do? We just log in. we join the meeting, or we schedule meetings. That's what we do, right? Can we change anything on this Zoom's portal? Like, can we add anything new, add any new feature, or we can we work with the policies on the Zoom, or can we troubleshoot if anything goes wrong with the Zoom? Can we do that?
No.
No. Why? Because our account, it's a normal account and it does not have the permission to do all of these things. Our account is having only the permission to log in, join meetings, and schedule meetings. Okay. But yeah, there will be a team that works with the Zoom in the backend. And that team, they'll have an account using which they manage all of these things. Correct? So the account they will be using, that will be a privileged account. But the account that we are using here, it's a normal account. Okay. Similarly, anywhere, whatever system you're working, if on that system you are able to modify things, that means you're using a privileged account. If you're not able to modify, you're not using a privileged account. A very simple logic. Now the question comes here that why only the privileged accounts? Why not the non-privileged accounts? Because what happens again, that when you have a privileged account, using them, modifications can be performed, changes can be done. So you can log in and you can do anything you want. You can delete something from that site, from the system. You can enable something new on that system. Okay. So a lot of things can be done with the privilege accounts. But if you talk about a normal account, what will you do? You'll schedule a meeting, right? That's the only thing you can do. So even if a normal account is getting hacked, if it is getting attacked, the attacker won't be able to do a lot of things. Okay. But when it comes to a privileged account, yes, a lot of things can be performed. That is why it becomes a target, that the attackers try to access your privileged accounts only, and that is why for the security we have Cyberark. Is that clear?
Yes.
Any questions, anyone?
No.
Okay. All right, moving to the next slide. Also, Ramesh, you joined late. We have just started here. We were just discussing the basics of it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, sure.
Anything from you?
No, I'm just listening. Yeah, I'll ask any questions if I have anything.
Okay. Now, what happens here that since we know that what are privilege accounts, we should also know that what are the types of privilege accounts. Okay, why should you know this? Because CyberArk, for different types of accounts, it uses different segments of security. So when we are going to work with CyberArk, we'll get both of the types. You'll have to first understand that what type of it is, of what type of account it is, and what security will be implemented for this. Okay. So as you see here, it says that CyberArk privileged accounts, it is having two types. First type is interactive accounts, and the second type it's non-interactive accounts. Interactive accounts will be the accounts that used by the users. Okay, the end users, they'll use it, they will interact with it. Non-interactive accounts will be the accounts that are not used by users, but they'll be used by softwares, machines, applications, right, in the backend. Okay. Interactive accounts, these are very common. So can anyone give me any example for this? Any interactive account? Anyone here?
Domain admins, admin accounts,
Okay, and not from this one. Any account that you use in your daily life.
like Windows administrator.
Okay, basically, whatever account we use in our daily life, it is an interactive account only. Okay, you are logging into the Zoom, that is an interactive account. You
Okay.
are logging into your laptop, that is your interactive account. You are logging into your Gmail, that is an interactive account. But within these interactive accounts, whatever accounts are having higher permission, that's something you call as interactive privilege accounts. And here we have the example for that. First example, it's super user. What is a super user? Super user is any account that is having higher permission on any system, the highest permission account. Okay, the most powerful account of a system is something you call as super user. Okay, we have three examples for that. The first example here, it's root. If you have worked with Unix, within Unix system, we have this root accounts. Roots accounts are the most powerful account that will be used by the Unix admins to perform things, to create new policies, to troubleshoot and all. We have a Windows system as well. Within Windows, we have this local admins account. This is again the most powerful account, the super user for that. And for database, if you have worked with database, it's sysadmins. Okay. So all of these three accounts, they are the most powerful account within their system. And they will be used by the default admin team to perform the things, to perform the changes. Okay. So yes, admin team is using it. That means it is used by a user, an interactive account. And because they are the most powerful ones, that means that it is a privileged account as well. Next example that we have here, it's AD domain admin account. Anyone here, what is AD domain?
Uh, so those are domain accounts which manage other accounts. Like so, those admin accounts are used to reset passwords and give permissions, add groups, and so on. So they have elevated access, which the normal AD users can't do.
No, like what is AD? What is Active Directory?
Uh, it's a it's a kind of LDAP, but mainly used by Windows. So, Active Directory.
Yeah, basically it's a directory, a digital directory where the organization keeps a lot of details about itself, the user details, system details, domain details, right? Domain controllers, privilege account details, everything it gets, it is kept over there. Okay.
Yeah.
Now what happens that when you have this AD, when you are having a directory that is having a lot of things within it, there will be a team as well that manages this AD, correct?
Yeah.
So this team to manage this AD, they also create the admin account. It's a very common account, domain admin account. Okay. Using this domain admin account, they log into the AD and they manage the things. They can uh, define permissions for the users over there. They can define policies for the servers over there. A lot of things can be done. Okay. So again, a team, they are managing a system through an admin account. Admin account, it simply means having higher permissions. So using a privilege account, they are performing the task. Okay, they are directly interacting with that. Okay, so yeah, the next example that we have for interactive privilege accounts. Next part that we have here is non-interactive accounts, the account that is For softwares, that is for machines, okay, basically the users they don't use it, but still they are the privileged accounts. Okay, first example for this, it's hard coded credential. Does anyone know about this hard coded credential here?
I mean, where the passwords are either like hard coded in the scripts, like in property files or something like that.
Yeah, what happens that hard coding of credentials, it's basically a process where we define the credentials within a script. Okay, and why would you do this? Because let's say there is a script, a partial script. You want the script to get pushed on a particular server. Okay, so manually, what do? Usually, is you just take that script, you log into that server manually, and then you push that, then you perform it. Instead of this, what you can do to automate the process is you can define the credentials within that script itself. That's something we call as hard coded credential. And the script, it will automatically initiate a login and it will be pushing that functionality over there. So a login is being made, a function is being performed, like a script is being pushed. That means modifications are being done. But the humans are not using it, the users are not using it. The script is doing it automatically. So a privileged account is here, but it is not used by humans. Example for non-interactive accounts. Okay. And the second example here is services. Services, what happens is that when you are having a system, let's say I'm having my machine, my laptop. On my laptop, I'll have a lot of things that goes on in the backend. Okay, for this Zoom to work, let's say we are having this meeting on the Zoom. For the Zoom to work, there is a service that gets created. For the Zoom to get connected to the internet, to the Wi-Fi, there will be a service that runs for that. Okay, everything on my system, whatever is going on there, everything to run, there is a service that works in the backend that gets created on your laptop, on your machine. Okay, and if you see here, it's here, the services. There are a lot of things that goes in the backend, and these services they'll be doing it. Okay. Now what happens that these services sometimes to perform their task, they also have to log into a different machine, to a different system. Okay. And for that thing, what do they need is they need the address and they need the credential of that system, of that application or software. Okay. What do you do in that case? You just select that service, you go to properties, you go to this logon option and you define the details that this has to log into this machine and this is the password to log in there. This service, whenever it wants to get in there, because it is having the password, it will initiate the login, it will be performing the things. Okay. So again, like only once you are defining the credentials, but after that, every time the service has to perform, it automatically initiates the login and it automatically does the things. Okay. No intervention. Scripts, services, machines, they are automatically doing it. But yeah, they are performing modification. Okay. So here we have the two types. Any questions, anyone?
No.
Okay. Now, as I said that for these two types, we are discussing them because CyberArk, it has different segments for them, different segments of security. So for interactive accounts, the segment that is used, it's something we call as privileged access management, where you have the basic components, the components that you said, Ramesh, PVWA, Vault, CPM, PSM. Okay.
Okay.
For non-interactive accounts, because the users are not using them directly, It's used in the backend by a script or a service. So there one more thing gets added up, and that is something we call as credential provider. The rest of the things will be same. World, PVWA, CPM, PSM, it will be same. But one more things gets added up, that's credential provider. Okay. And this segment is something we call as application access management. Okay. That's how you'll be securing your entire privilege account using PAM, privilege access management, and AAM in application access management. Is that clear?
Yes.
Any questions from anyone else? Not getting anything from others.
No questions.
Okay. All right. Moving forward in that case. What happens that till now we know the basics, like we know that what are privilege accounts, we even know their types so that we can implement the security accordingly. The next thing we have here are the risks that are associated with the privilege accounts. Okay, let's say you have a privilege account. You know that this has to be secured. But if you don't know the risks, you won't be able to provide a solution for that. So when you are implementing CyberArk, let's say you are onboarding as well. After onboarding, what policies will be defined? Okay, what risks has to be prevented? This is something you should know. Okay, basically we have a lot of problems, we have a lot of risks. Okay, it's not possible to cover each and every one of them in one session, but yeah, the basic things, the major things that we have, I'm covering that. Okay, the first thing that it says, it's privileged account or privileged identity, the most important accounts in enterprise, and they are described as the keys to the kingdom. What does that mean? To understand this, let's take the example of this AD domain admin account. Okay, AD, we know it's a repository where the details about your entire organization get stored. Okay, everything is stored there. What users are working on, what servers they are having the permissions, what domain controllers are there, what machines are there, everything is stored. Okay. Let's say this AD, it's having the details about 1,000 servers, 10,000 users. Okay, that's something we have. A lot of things. Okay. Now there is a team that is managing Active Directory. They created this Active Directory domain admin account. And using this account, they are managing the directory. All right. Let's say someday somehow this account it's compromised. It's attacked. This Active Directory domain admin account. Okay. If it is attacked, whoever the attacker is, he will access this account. He will get into your directory and he can access all of those 1,000 servers, all of those 10,000 of user details. Right?
Yeah.
So one account getting compromised and all of these things are getting compromised, all of this information is getting compromised. Using the user details, he can log into any server, he can access that, and he can do anything he wants to do. That is why, like, one credential getting compromised, you're compromising your entire architecture. That is why it is said that privileged accounts are described as the keys to the kingdom. Okay. One thing you can say here that, all right, okay, this is something that is true for AD, right? For AD, it is having a lot of details. It is having the user details, server details. So, okay, it works for that. If AD account is compromised anyhow, then you will lose a lot of detail. Then we should secure only this AD part. Why CyberArk? Why are we implementing CyberArk for the entire architecture? This can be the question here. So we need CyberArk because, yes, okay, I can understand that AD is having a lot of details. But this does not mean that if you're having a normal server, that won't have anything. A normal server, a local server as well, it will have a lot of information about your organization. Right? If it is a server, that means it's storing something. And even if that is getting compromised, some or other detail is getting compromised here. That is why it's said that privileged accounts are the most important accounts, and if they are compromised, you are losing the key to the kingdom.
Excuse me, does it mean like CyberArk can only manage AD, or can it also manage like database servers and other services?
Everything. What I was saying is, if you think it like that, because we took the example of AD, so if you think it like that, that okay, only the AD accounts is important in that case. Why to secure the entire architecture? Then it's not true. We have a lot of servers. Every server will be having some or other detail. So anything if it is getting compromised, that means you're losing some or other thing.
Okay.
Any questions? Anyone else?
No.
Okay, so that was the first risk. Any machine you have that will have something, and if you are not securing the account, if you're not securing the way through which you are accessing that server, that means you are putting your system into risk. Okay. The second example here is accounts are held by various teams, and the control of these are not centralized. What does that mean? This means that usually what happens that when we have, let's say, when we have different servers, okay, when we are working somewhere, there will be different servers, okay, and these servers will have different teams working on that. Okay, for example, let's say you are working somewhere and you are working on an application. Okay, this application it's installed on a server. Okay, so what you are doing is you are having a server, and on that you are working on an application. Okay, let's say this is the server. There will be a server team that would have created this server. So they as well, for their management, for their maintenance of the server, they as well they work with it. There will be a database as well that gets installed on the server. So yes, a database team as well for the maintenance of database. They work on this. Okay. So what we took here is we had one server where you were working on application. A server team was working on the server. A database team was working on the database maintenance. Okay, a very simple case where three teams are working on one single server. You can have even more. Let's say we have 10 servers like this. So on 10 servers, there will be 30 teams, minimum 30 teams that will be working separately on different parts. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And all of us, like all of these different teams, they are using a different account for that. Server team will have their own account to manage the server. Database team will have their own account to manage the server. So different privilege accounts are being used at different places. Okay. And in this case, what happens that if, let's say, if there is an auditor and he wants to audit things, he wants to check that what things are performed by what team, because there are multiple accounts. So for them to audit, like they'll first go to server one, they'll audit the first three accounts. Then they'll go to the server two, they'll audit the second three accounts. Okay, this is how they'll go one by one to individual servers to get the details one by one. Okay, and in real time, it's not like that you have only 10 or 20 servers. There can be hundreds, there even can be thousands of servers if it is a large scale organization. So monitoring thousands of servers individually going in there one by one, that's something that's not possible. You will need a lot of auditors. You will need a lot of time for this to get done. And in this way, yes, the auditors they will miss on some or other detail. Why? Because there is no centralized management. Everything is hosted on different machines, and the auditors they are going to a lot of different places to get the details. Okay, this is where you have another problem. When you have accounts like this, when different teams are working on them on different machines, then the auditing part it becomes very difficult. And if auditing becomes very difficult, that means users they know this and they can do whatever they want. Okay, tracking of account it becomes very important in any organization. Tracking of the activity it becomes very important. But if the things are placed like this, you won't be able to do anything with them. So another problem. The last problem that we have here is access control and accountability. To understand this, I'm sharing my another screen here. Let me know if you can see that. Yeah, is my screen like my new screen visible for you?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, what happens is that let's say we have a server. Okay, this is a Windows server, for example. Okay, on this Windows server, let's say we have a privileged account created. Okay, this is the username, privileged account is the username, and XYZ it is the password. Okay, that's how we have a server and we have accounts on that. So here, let's say we have a privileged account. Now there is a user. He wants to log into this Windows server. Okay, and his login he wants to do it using this privileged account. Okay, let's say he's the admin or something, so he wants to manage this server. For that, he is having the privileged account details and he will be using that. How will he use that? He will be using it through a connection client. Okay, this is a connection client for you. User will launch this connection client. This is a remote desktop connection client. Within this connection client, the user will define the address wherever he wants to connect, whatever the address of the server is, he will be defining that. Once he defines the address, he will get a tab for username and password. He'll have to define that. He's already having this credentials, so he'll be defining that. Clicks on connect, and then the connection it goes to the target machine. Okay, this is the process that is used when you don't have CyberArk. Okay, you have a user, he will have the credentials. You have a connection client, the user will launch that, user will define the details, IP credentials, and then user will connect to the target machine. Okay, let's say the user is connected over here. He did some activities. Okay, whatever he wanted to do, create something new or delete something or modify something, he did that. He logged out. Now we have an auditor here, and let's say this auditor, he wants to audit things. For the auditing purpose as well, the same process will be used. Okay, auditor will be launching the connection client, and auditor as well will be defining the credentials, like his auditor account credential, and he'll log in here. Okay, when he logs in here, he'll get some logs, local logs that gets created on the server, and the local logs will say that the privileged account has done all of these activities. Privileged account has deleted this file, or privileged account has created this file, or a privileged account has defined this policy. Okay. Whatever log will be there, it will say this thing itself. Privileged account has done all of these things. Okay. But was it this privileged account who was doing that, or was it this user one who was doing the activity? Who was doing the activities?
User one was using the privileged account on the server.
Correct. So user one was doing it, but what happens that in this process, in this connection client process, the user one ID, it is not mapped anywhere.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, you won't get anything about users, that what user has done this. And usually what happens that multiple users, they have access to one privilege accounts. User one, user two, user three, let's say there are three users, all of them can have access to the same privilege account. Okay, so there what happens that if three users are having access to the same privilege account, if all of three are using it, then what user out of these three have used this account? No record of that. Why? Because it is not mapped in the remote connections. Okay, this is where we have a problem again. No accountability. Users are getting in, users are doing activities, but their IDs are not accountable for their actions. Their IDs are getting masked in this remote connection. And that is something we don't want. We want that if a user is doing something, we want everything to be linked with his ID. Okay, so this is where you have your third problem that you get when you don't use CyberArk. Okay, but yeah, when you use CyberArk, what happens? Let's say it's CyberArk, it will be implemented here. Within CyberArk, the first thing that you'll do is whatever accounts you have, it gets onboarded here. Okay, it gets secured here. All right. This privilege account from this Windows server, it gets secured here. If you have another Windows server there as well, you are having a privilege account. That as well, it gets secured here. Okay, so accounts from your entire architecture, it will be onboarded within CyberArk. It will be secured within CyberArk. Okay, so now you have one centralized repository. Just a minute. Okay, so now you have only one centralized repository. The issue that we had in the previous case. Okay, no centralized repository. You have it now. Everything is your user one. Instead of using the account through a connection client, he will be asked to get into this CyberArk first. Okay. Here he will be using this account, and then from here he will be initiating the connection. In this process, what happens that whatever the user is doing, he logged in here, that will be tracked by CyberArk, that will be recorded by CyberArk. He uses the account, that will be tracked by CyberArk. He connects to this Windows server, and whatever he does on the Windows server, that will be mapped in one session of this user one. At user one, he logged in, he used this account, he connected to the server, and in his session, in his one connection, this is what he did. Okay, so this is what happens. When CyberArk is implemented, everything gets tracked by CyberArk, whatever the user is doing, whenever he is logging in, whenever he is logging off, whatever he is doing on the target machine, everything CyberArk controls. So that's how your things, your risks got prevented. Is that clear?
Uh, yes, like so. Once when CyberArk is implemented, how would you restrict the remote desktop connection to the servers? Like,
Yeah, a very good question here. So what happens that we cannot stop a remote desktop connection. Okay, even if let's say CyberArk is implemented, you cannot stop this user one from using remote desktop connection. What you can do here is you can just prevent it. How can you prevent it? Let's say the users they were having the password, like privilege account XYZ, they were having that. They were using it directly. Okay. Now let's say the account is onboarded here. Just after onboarding, what do? Is we perform a password change for them. We trigger a password change for the accounts. Why? Because the previous password was exposed, and this password, it's a new password that's defined by CyberArk. So users they won't have this and they can't use it directly. First measure, first thing that we can do to prevent direct connections. Second thing we can do is we can define a policy. Okay, we can define a rule that okay, the password, all right, you have changed it for the first time, but after every 7 days, you want a continuous password change mechanism. Okay, this is a feature that you have.
okay,
Okay, after every 7 days, let's say today it's XYZ one, so on the seventh day it will again get changed. After the 14th day, it will again get changed. Okay, so again, if the password is changing on certain intervals, again the risk of getting this exposed is minimizes. And if it is not exposed, that means the user cannot use it. One more thing, like we have a lot of things because you have asked about it, so I'm adding up the features here. One more feature that we can add is we can have a policy that defines that password it gets changed every time a user retrieves it. Okay, what happens within CyberArk is CyberArk it does not expose the password. Okay, let's say you onboarded it, it is having it in the backend, but when a user logs in, users won't see the password. They'll see a connect option. They will have to click on connect, and their connection it gets connected to the target machine. That is the mechanism.
okay,
Now what do is some of the users they can have this feature, they can have this permission that they can retrieve the password. You don't grant it to every single user, but yeah, some of them can have it. If any user is having this permission to retrieve the password, and again you want that whenever a user retrieves it, you want that the password should be changed immediately. You enable that thing and it will be changed. So yeah, there are a lot of things that we can do for to prevent RDP.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, anyone? One more thing, like CyberArk, right now I'm just showing this you as an example. CyberArk is some multiple component thing. So from here it will go to all of the components and then to the Windows server. Okay, this is something we'll do in the next session in the architecture part. So don't worry about that. Anything else from this part? Nothing, right? Okay. Going back to this one. All right, whatever risks we had, we discussed about that, and we even discussed that what happens when you implement CyberArk. Everything it is under control, everything it is tracked by CyberArk. Okay. Now the last slide for us. The last slide for us is for the requirement of a PAM solution. Okay. If let's say if you know that these are the risks, then how CyberArk is the solution for that? What features do you get from CyberArk? That's something we get from this particular slide. The first thing that you get from this is CyberArk. It manages your PAM accounts. How will it manage your PAM account? By rotating the password, the thing that we discussed right now. So CyberArk, it has the ability. You just have to define a policy that on every seventh day or every 10th day you want it to be changed, and it will be changing it automatically. You don't have to do anything then. You just define the policy once, and automatically on every seventh day the password gets rotated. Okay, and because it's a password that's defined by CyberArk, so it will be a more complex one, a difficult one, a more secure one. Okay. The next thing here is limit the access to the PAM accounts. So what happens that CyberArk, we know, we right now discuss that whatever accounts we have, okay, from your thousands of servers, it can be onboarded within CyberArk. Okay. So let's say the CyberArk, it's having 30,000 accounts in total, three accounts on each of the servers, so 30,000 accounts in total. Now there is a user who logged in here. Okay, it is having 30,000 accounts on this architecture. If this user, if he gets in and if he can see all of the 30,000 account, that means you are exposing your data. That means you are risking with your credentials, risking your servers. Okay, so that is why what CyberArk does is it manages the data, it controls the accesses. Whatever user is trying to get in here, on this login page itself, it will check that what type of user it is, what things are accessible for him, and whatever is accessible, only that will get populated here. If this user, if he has access only to this privileged account out of the 30,000 accounts, that only this one account gets populated here. The rest of the accounts, it won't show up here. If let's say there is an auditor is responsible to go through the logs, to the recordings. So when an auditor gets in, he'll see only the logs recordings part. Other things won't be accessible for auditors. So that's how this CyberArk, it manages the access. It grants role-based access. Okay. Next thing it does is it generates audit trails. So whatever the users are doing on the target machine. He used an account, he went into a target machine, and whatever he's doing there, everything is audited by CyberArk. Everything is tracked by CyberArk. And how will it track? It tracks it by generating logs. It tracks it by generating recordings. Okay. What next we have is MFA. So what happens that MFA, it's very common these days, multi-factor authentication. Okay, whenever we try to log into mostly our banking portals, it asks for another layer of security. It can be an OTP, it can be a code, okay, anything there, but it's another layer of authentication to your login process. The same thing can be enabled in CyberArk as well. If there is a user, let's say he went to the login page of CyberArk here, he defined his credentials here, After defining his credential, there will be another layer of security for him. He will be asked to define a code or an OTP, and only when he defines that, his ID will be verified and he will be allowed to get in here. Okay, that's basically for another layer of security. The next thing it does is it manages the session by monitoring it. Monitoring is again creating logs and recordings and isolating the sessions for two different users. If two different users are connected to CyberArk at the same time, so both of them they should not get the same session. Their session should be isolated. That's something this CyberArk does. And one of the last features, not the last, but yeah, the last that you have in the slide is just in time or temporary access. Okay. For example, let's say we get this case a lot of time that there is a user, he is working on a project, and for this project, he needs a temporary access to your architecture. So, for that, what do? You just grant his permission on CyberArk that this is what he needs, this is the account he wants to access. And then there is an option for access expires on. You select that, you define a date, and on that date, automatically his access it will get expired. Okay, you don't have to do it manually. So yeah, that's the feature you get from CyberArk. Anything from you?
No, I think it's good.
Okay, so basically that's what we had for this first session, for the introductory session.
Okay. So, as part of this training, will you be able to? Will you be going through with the CyberArk interface, or so when you show the CyberArk, like, will you be going through showing with the interface, like on how to configure, install, and all those things as well, or like?
Yeah, so basically the course that we have, it starts from the scratch, like we started from today.
Okay.
And when we move forward, we start with the basic theory of CyberArk. We first discuss the architecture, then we discuss about the components, as you know, that we have different components. And once we are done with the theory, you are comfortable with the theory, you get the labs. Okay, the virtual servers where the setup files of all of these components it will be pasted. Okay, now only the setup file will be placed over there. Installation part, the prerequisite part, everything related to the deployment, it's something that you will be doing. I'll be showing you that how to do it. You get the recordings, you go through it, and you do it after the sessions.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay,
Yeah.
you get the access to the labs 24 by 7. Like first few days we'll have a theory session. So after that, you get the labs implemented, and from that date, the labs will be there for 40 days for you.
Okay.
In these 40 days, whenever you want, 24 by 7, you can access your labs and you can do whatever you want. Okay. So, yes, we start with deployment because that's the first thing you should be doing. Because if you don't have the setup, you won't be able to do anything there. And once everything is deployed, we work on operations within CyberArk. Okay, whatever operation an admin will be doing in daily basis, onboarding of accounts, adding of users, segregating of accounts, creating saves and all, troubleshooting, generating reports. We'll do all of these things. Okay, so this is how we'll be going.
O- Okay. And as part of this training, like, will there be any projects like which you'll be doing at the end, like real-time projects?
Projects like in CyberArk itself, you will be asked to do daily to daily operations. Okay,
Oh, okay.
and that's what we'll be doing on daily basis.
Okay, and
Okay.
another question, like, so if by after completion of this course, like successfully, like, will I be able to go through the certification in CyberArk, and what level of certification I'll be able to apply?
Yeah, so CyberArk it basically has three levels of
Yeah,
certifications:
yeah.
Guard, Defender, Sentry, and Guardian. With this course, you'll be able to go through the first two levels, that's Defender and Sentry. Okay,
Okay,
Defender it's for the operations, that's something we are doing. Sentry it's for the deployment, and that as well is something we'll be doing. So these two things.
okay, great. Yeah.
For the certifications, yes, we do cover everything. You even get some documents that will be helping you out for the certification. Like there will be some dumps and all. And like what happens that when we are going with the course, you don't get that much time to practice with it because um, everyone here is working somewhere. Okay. So what will I ask you that after the session that okay, you practice everything, but it's not possible that you remember everything in one go. So you just revise the things once after the course, after the session, and then you go through the dumps and then you go for the certification.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry I missed the initial part. Like when you started this class, like I don't know if you said about your background. Like, I mean, have you taken the certification, or like are you already practicing CyberArk somewhere? Like,
Yeah, so I used to work as a Cyberark administrator a lot of years back. Okay,
okay,
now I'm a full-time trainer. I'm into this training. I have trained around 1,000 candidates in my career till now.
okay,
And yes, I am having all of the certifications.
okay, great.
Yep. Anything else you need?
I think yeah, I was only mainly concerned about like these two things, like lab sessions and all those things. If those are provided, then I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. As I said, 40 days access will be there and it does not count from the first session. It gets counted from the day it's implemented.
Okay, okay,
So, yeah, within these 40 days, you can do whatever you want.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
All right. In that case, that's it for today. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yep. Thank you so much. You too. Have a good day.